Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seahawk Recap Show with your host, Ryan Koki. And welcome to the second episode of News of the Week. Now, I am over the cold, the elusive cold that I told you guys about in the recap game recap of preseason week one. But I'm finally back now, away from the illness, and now I'm feeling up to recording some things for you guys. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So, with this week's episode, the Seahawk Recap Show presents the running back Dark Ages. So, first things first, starting off the episode with something that's pretty heavy. It is the sentencing of former NFL wide receiver Henry Ruggs III. So, according to ESPN and CBS Sports, the former wide receiver is sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for a DUI, reckless driving, possession of a firearm while under the influence, and in May, he pled to vehicular manslaughter. His sentencing was on Wednesday, August 9th. The incident date, November 2nd, 2021. The victim was Tina Tantor. And some extra details. So, Ruggs was speeding at 156 miles per hour. His blood alcohol level was 2 times the legal limit in Nevada, 0.161. And Ruggs' statement to the parents and family of Mrs. Tentor: I sincerely apologize for the pain and suffering. In this instance, I honestly hope that Ruggs learns from this. I hope he understands that this incident, this accident that happened, he truly learns from this. I hope he learns to not drink and drive. Uh, and I hope he learns at the age of 24, which he is now, that his actions have consequences. And I hope he is remorseful for his consequences and all the pain he has caused. And I hope that if he gets out on parole in 3 years, that he dedicates his life to making sure that an incident like this, at least for himself, never happens again. And I hope he's more careful in the future. And I hope that he also takes the initiative to try and help others uh, with drinking issues. I hope that he understands that this was not an okay thing to do. His NFL career is now done. There is no way I think he's getting back into the NFL. He threw that opportunity out the window when he decided to do this in November. So I hope, again, he's remorseful for his actions, and I hope that something like this can be prevented and never crosses his path. And I really hope he is, again, remorseful for his actions. That's all I'm going to say on this topic. But let's talk about the meat of the episode, the running back problem. I think there is a running back problem in the NFL. And what I mean by problem is I think that the age of the running back and getting long term deals and getting the amount of money that we're seeing from other positions in football is now done. I think you won't see a running back getting higher than a 3 year deal in terms of years. Because of the nature of the position and because of what has happened, and some of the running backs that I'm going to talk about today, I think there's a big problem in the NFL, and I think the league has changed from a more running back centric style of scheme to what I like to call now the dual threat quarterback era, where quarterbacks can run and pass, and it's more of a pass heavy league now than it's ever been. Let's talk about it. So, Running back still on the market. Now I know Josh Jacobs technically isn't on the market because they he did get offered $10.1 million as a contract by the Las Vegas Raiders, but Josh Jacobs didn't accept the $10.1 million for a year. And honestly, I agree with him. Um, he played 17 games last year. He had 340 attempts, 1,653 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns, 53 receptions, 400 yards, and 0 touchdowns receiving. And that was good enough to make him the best running back in the league. In a contract year, he had one of the best seasons I've seen out of a running back. Just insane. But let's talk about the contract. So his ELC or entry level contract was $11.933 million over 4 years. He signed that when he was drafted in 2019 to 2022. The reason why I say that you're not going to see him get a huge contract, get a 5-year deal, get anything of like this is because of the next running back on the list. Running back Dalvin Cook. He's 28. Dalvin Cook talked with the Jets and he signed with the Jets on August 15th. His games, he played 17 games, attempts 264, rushing yards was 1,173. His touchdowns, he had 8. Receptions, he had 39 for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. With the Vikings, he got cut, and he got cut with this contract. So he signed a contract, $63 million for 5 years, 28.125 guaranteed. He signed that in 2020 to 2025. The Vikings signed him and they saved up $9 million in cap space, and they cut him and he's now gone. And not for the lack of production, but because of the contract that was signed. That I think is the main reason why he got cut. It's just too much money for a running back. And because of the longevity of running backs and how short their careers can be, I don't think you're going to see owners signing running backs to 5-year deals anymore, ever. And you can clip that at me and tell me when I'm wrong when a running back signs a 5-year deal, but I don't see it happening. Because you're just gonna see it get cut. Signs the new deal with the Jets, $8.6 million, 1 year, and that is kind of the deals that we're going to be looking at in the new running back age. 1-year deals. You'll get 2 years and 3 years if you're lucky, but considering the longevity for a running back is probably 5 years, 6 years in the league, you're not going to be seeing much more than that because of the running back position and how grueling it can be. Because remember, as a running back, you're running at guys that are 300 plus pounds. You're running at guys that are basically attempting to try and rip your head off. And you could get injured through a bunch of different things. As a running back, your durability is your friend. If you are durable, you will survive. If you get injured and you keep getting injured, you're not going to get a big contract, and your people are going to be more hesitant to sign you because they don't want to commit that much money to a guy that could be injury prone. And I think when we heard about all these problems coming out of running back camps, remember when Saquon Barkley wasn't getting signed and Austin Eckler, people like Nick Chubb, people like Christian McCaffrey were getting on Twitter and they were looking at it and going, this is insane. Like, why are these players not getting picked up? Why are these players now on like August 15th just signing deals? These are major players in the running back market. And these are major guys that don't have many down years of production, aren't really injury prone as much, and they're good running backs. They're star running backs in this league. And I think um you're looking at that, and Nick Chubb, when he talked to Roger Goodell, I don't have the quote in front of me, so I'll paraphrase it. But he put it brilliantly. He said, our production as running backs hurts us. The more carries we get in a season determines whether a owner or a team wants us. Because if we have 300 carries in a season, people will look at that and go, he had a really great season, but he had 300 carries. He might be a little worn down because of the amount of work he's getting, because of the amount of work that we just put him through. And he could get injured. He could have been getting injured a lot and have lingering injuries and all that. And people in business, especially, don't want to put an investment down with a high risk reward player like that in sports. It's a business after all. If you're injury prone, you're probably not going to get signed to a long term deal because people will look at you and go, well, because of your injury history, how many years do you have left of really good production? Let's now talk about Kareem Hunt. He is also 28. He had talks with the Saints and the Colts. No deal was signed. He played 17 games, had 123 carries, 468 yards for 3 touchdowns. Receiving, he had 35 receptions for 210 yards, 1 touchdown. He was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. ELC was $3.28 million for 4 years. Signed that in 2017 to 2020. And then he went to Cleveland and signed a $12 million 2-year deal through 2020 to 2022. Now, with Kareem Hunt, this is very interesting. Why, oh, why is he not signed? And this is what I'm talking about. Why are these players not signed? Kareem Hunt is not signed. He is a rotational running back. He's got little to no mileage on him for this season. He had 123 attempts. That is, in my opinion, low mileage for running back. Sure, he didn't put up 500 yards, but he's a rotational guy. He's a guy that you could use in a tandem system and, have him take away carries from RB1 and have the fresh legs. Or you could potentially have him as RB1 and give him a little bit more workhorse ability because he doesn't have that many miles on his body, at least for this season. But I think Kareem Hunt not being signed is a big tell for how the NFL has shifted. You don't need a superstar running back anymore. What you need is 3 running backs max that can split carries with each other. And, because it's a pass heavy league, you can either throw it to them out of the backfield or just have them run through people. And I think he's going to sign a 1-year deal. If he gets signed, Kareem Hunt, he will sign a 1-year deal. He will sign a prove it deal. He will sign a no risk deal because this is the way the NFL is going. No risk deals for running backs are going to be the new norm because now there's no risk. They can cut him if he's bad. They can re-sign him if he's good. And I think the franchise tag is now going to be, it's going to be used mostly for running backs now, I think. Because 1 year, you can just go, oh, we just used the last year of his good production. Oh, well, now he can go to the running back market and retire. But let's talk about the last guy on the list. 28 years old, Ezekiel Elliott. He talked to the Patriots on July 29th, and he was signed by the Patriots on August 15th. His games played, 15. Attempts, 231. Yards, 876 with 12 touchdowns. Receptions, 17. Yards, 92 and 0 touchdowns. And this is another reason why you won't see big deals. With the Cowboys, he signed a $90 million deal, 6 years. 50 million of that was guaranteed, signed in 2019 to 2026. He was cut from that. So that means that Jerry Jones is eating up a buttload of cap until 2026 because Zeke lost his job to Tony Pollard. And now the NFL has now shifted and now said basically unofficially, all the GMs, I bet, are getting together and going, hey, never signing a contract like that again, because that was a mistake. We didn't expect Zeke to have a down year like this. And a new deal with Patriots, $6 million, 1 year. And here it is again. 1 year deal. 1 year deal. Still not signed. Is Josh Jacobs going to get a 1 year deal? Is Josh Jacobs going to get traded from the Raiders? Because he's 25. These guys are 28. And I think if the Raiders were smart, and again, I'm not a businessman, but I would give Josh Jacobs a 3 year deal, sign him up till he's 28. And the way that the world is going now, I think 28 is where you'll see 1 year deals being signed until they don't have any more use in the system. I think the only teams that I can see signing running backs to long-term deals are Seattle, because Pete Carroll runs the same scheme he's run forever, which is run, play action on third down. But even he is getting to the point where he's still running a lot, but he's got 3 guys that can all split carries with each other. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the running backs and their new deals and any future deals for any other running backs that are coming into the scene. Because I don't think running backs are going to have, I think the positional value for running backs has declined increasingly throughout the last couple of years. So, another big thing I wanted to talk about, suspension fever. So, as of August 10th, 13 players have been suspended. And I'm not going to go through all 13. Sorry about that. I'm not going to go through all 13. I'm going to pick out a couple that I wanted to talk about and highlight. And with suspensions, I'm noticing a theme. So 3 main suspensions you will see is the personal conduct policy, the NFL gambling policy, and the NFL performance enhancing drug policy, or PED policy. Those are the 3 main suspensions that you'll probably see throughout the NFL. But let's talk about some of the suspensions so far and notable suspensions. Running back for the Saints, Alvin Kamara, suspended 3 games for the personal conduct policy. Reason. So he fought someone in a nightclub in Las Vegas last year. The news came hours after Kamara publicly addressed his off-field actions, admitted he was completely wrong, and used poor judgment in the incident that led to his arrest. This is per CBS Sports. And he was suspended 3 games for the season. I think that's about right. I think that these suspensions, man, there's a lot of suspensions going on. And I think the NFL is clamping down hard on, suspensions and throwing the rule book at guys. So let's talk about cornerback Isaiah Rodgers for the Indianapolis Colts. I believe he was actually released after this happened. And he's at least gone for a year. Same as Calvin Ridley, basically, of now the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was suspended a year for basically the exact same thing. He was suspended for gambling on NFL games, and this affects the NFL gambling policy. Reason: he bet on NFL games during the 2022 season. Rogers' wagers included a $1,000 prop bet on the over-under of rushing yards on a Colts running back. This is per CBS Sports and ESPN. The NFL, especially, has clamped down on this hard, specifically. If you are caught in fantasy football, playing fantasy football, doing anything betting on NFL games or any other sport for that matter, even if it's not NFL, if you are caught in an NFL facility doing that and betting on games or anything like that, you are suspended. You're automatically suspended, and the severity of the punishment will depend on if it was an NFL game that you were betting on, because if you're betting on an NFL game, you can alter the game so that you win your extra money. And I get why they're doing it. But they're also the NFL is not allowing its players to participate in these activities, but they're also in uh they've also got a lot of sponsors from, DraftKings, NFL sports books and bettings uh and gambling and things like that on their games. So I get it. I get it from a perspective of business that it's not good having your own players in your own league bet on NFL games, because you could alter the game that way just to win some extra money from a sports betting company. But um, you know, I think that this is very interesting. But let's talk about, because I am a Seahawks fan, you knew this was coming. I'm going to talk about wide receiver Dwayne Eskridge. He's suspended 6 games for the NFL's personal conduct policy. Reason: following a domestic violence incident last offseason, Dwayne has been arrested on a misdemeanor charge following an incident with his child's mother in February. The charges will be dropped when therapy is completed, per AP News. So I have no other, um, I have no other thing to say on this. It's just another personal conduct policy thing, and the game's severity depends on how big the infraction is and what the NFL or Roger Goodell specifically feels like this is an appropriate amount of games for this. And yeah, I think this is an appropriate amount of games. Now, let's talk about offensive tackle Cam Robinson. He was suspended 4 games under the NFL's performance enhancing drug policy, or PED. So I couldn't find the reasons for this. I had no other details. We have no idea what performance enhancing drugs Cam was using. But since this is a 4 game suspension, I'm assuming it's nothing like steroids that can give you a absurd advantage, hopefully, but I just don't know. So I would assume, because of the amount of games, it's nothing too serious. But Roger Goodell and the rest of the NFL are clamping down on that because, again, same with betting. You can alter the game that way. You can alter your performance and you could be better than you actually are. Nobody wants to see athletes be on steroids just to compete in a game of football. We want it to be clean and fair. And the final thing I'm going to talk about today is Richard Sherman to Undisputed. If you don't know what Undisputed is, here's a quick rundown. It's a show, debate show like First Take, with Skip Bayless and formerly tight end Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp left in June, and according to Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, Richard Sherman will be going at it with Skip Bayless after Shannon Sharp left in June of this year. My thoughts: this is going to be interesting. I think this is going to get me to watch. If this goes through, because we just don't know yet if this actually is going to go through or not. There's no official start date for Richard Sherman to come onto the show and actually start doing this. at least from what I was reading. But I think this is going to be very interesting because I love Richard Sherman as a player. He was the cornerback for the Seahawks in the Legion Boom days. He was a cornerback for the 49ers, and he is not officially retired from the NFL still. So he's still technically an active player, but over the past couple of years, he has been doing a lot of broadcasting for the NFL in general. He's made some TV appearances. He's also has his own podcast talking to former players, talking about some issues in the NFL that he wants to talk about. And he's a very well spoken guy. He knows what he's talking about a lot of the time. And I think it's really cool to have player insight. And I can't wait to see if this actually happens because it'll be just so interesting to have a player insight. Shannon Sharp did wonderfully on Undisputed because he brought something to the game because he's a former NFL player. Former NFL players doing broadcasts and things like that is great for the game of football because to an average fan like myself who's not very analytical and isn't deep diving into the game so hard, it's very nice to hear former players go, "Oh, this is what's happening. Oh, this is why he did this, or this is why this happened, or this is why this happened." And here's my opinion on this. Here's why I think this is either a good thing or maybe he should have done something else. But I think in terms of Richard Sherman, he's a great personality. He's a big trash talker. At least in his career, he was a big trash talker kind of guy. And he's just funny. He's got that personality of being, he can be a little hot headed, but I think all NFL players can be. But he's also a really funny guy. So it'd just be a barrel of laughs if this actually happens. So in terms of Shannon Sharp, though, man, what a what a what a run. What a run for Shannon Sharp, man. I think it was 7 years. 7 or 5 years or something like that that he's been on that show with Skip. And I think whatever's next for him, man, I hope he stays. I hope he stays in the sphere of um doing something with the NFL. Because again, having him talk, I could listen to the guy all day. I like I like his opinions. I like listening to former NFL players talk NFL because they know what they're talking about. They played the game. They're on the field. They can give insights that us as fans and us as journalists or anything like that can't really give because we probably never played the sport. So we can give our opinions and our analytics and we can do stuff, but we've never actually played the sport. So it's very cool to see that insight. And I just wish Shannon Sharp, if he decides to do something, or even if he doesn't, I just wish him all the best. I loved him, so I wish him all the best in his future endeavors, whatever that may be. But that is it for the Seahawk recap show, episode 2 for news of the week. If you like this episode, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you could share it with your friends, whether they're Seahawks fans or just football fans in general, if you could share it with your friends and get more people and traffic to the channel, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I hope you'll still stick with me through the 2023-2024 season. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I will see you next week on Friday when I record this, but it'll be on Saturday when you finally see this episode. But I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next episode. And don't forget, come back to the channel on Monday because I will be doing the Seahawk game recap, preseason week 2 against the Cowboys. All right. Have a great day. This is Ryan Koki of the Seahawk Recap Show, signing off.